we're live. I don't know about you, but I think that commercial was running fairly quickly. It was like speeding up. Anywho, welcome back to our live. We're waiting for our co-host. She'll be hopping on soon, but we have today Mr. John Moreno-Escobar, who is running for District 6 School Board. So we're going to talk a little bit with him today. But before we go through that or whatever, for my Haitian brothers and sisters, it's Haitian Flag Day. I have my shirt on. I don't have my Haitian shirt, but I have my shirt from Sandra Dennis, who is in charge of this organization down in Miami. And it says Nous la Pifo, which means we're Nous la Pi Red, which means that we're still here, we're still fighting, and we're not going to stop. And so I just want to give my Haitian brothers and sisters love, l'union fait la force in our Haitian language on our flag. So I want to just give out shout outs to you all. We love you all. Haiti Chérie will always be in our hearts. And so we will always continue the legacy here in the States, as well as praying for our brothers and sisters in Haiti and hoping that at some point we will get some relief with the government and all the stuff going down there. So just wanted to say hello, high five that, throw that in there. Again, we are here with Mr. John Moreno-Escobar. We're going to ask him to just introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself, and then we're going to go into some questions. If anyone has any questions in the chat, please put them in the chat. We'll ask and we'll see if Mr. Escobar can answer them. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm sending it over to you, Mr. Escobar, and please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and then tell us why you're running.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Narnique, for the invitation. And I know your co-host will be here soon. I will second that motion to celebrate Haitian Flag Day. I was actually yesterday at the Research Library celebrating with the community. The school district put a really well event last night. And I was really impressed. As an immigrant myself, I understand the struggle of immigrant communities here in Broward County and around the nation. So I will just, share that sentiment with you. And Sandra Dennis, if she's watching, I know her from NLC. She graduated with me. So a lot of love for her and her work. It's incredible in the housing crisis that we are living here in South Florida. And to your question, my name is John Moreno-Escobar. Everyone remembers the Escobar for obvious reasons. I am Colombian, so it gets me uneasy when I heard the Escobar part of our history. But I was born in Colombia. I was born in Colombia in 1983. I am an immigrant that came into the United States when I was 18. I went to New York City, where I spent 14 years of my life. And over there, I did my higher education journey. I went from a 2-year college to a 4-year college to a master's degree. And really early when I was in college, and even when I was in Colombia, I always had this passion for equity, access, and inclusion. And when I got into Baruch College in the City University of New York, during my second year, I experienced a really interesting thing, which was my best friend came to me and told me that she didn't know if she was going to be able to get a job after graduation. And I was like, my God, you're an A student. You're better than me. You're doing so many great things. What's going on? And she told me really quietly, I'm undocumented. I don't have papers. And I was like, oh my God, what that means? Like, I never heard this. Like, what is this thing that I never heard? And she told me, yes, I am undocumented. My parents came here when I was younger, and I overstayed my visa. Hey, Sandra, welcome.
Hi, sorry I'm late. How are you?
No, you're good. You're good. I'm doing my little introduction speech.
Yes.
But so she told me that, and I was like, I have to do something about this. So when I was in my second year of college, I created my first non-for-profit to help immigrant, Latino, Hispanic students and parents to understand the process of post-secondary education, meaning the application, the payment, and the pre-application of college, right? Like preparation, right? Preparing, applying, and paying for college. And, then after that, it was just an incredible journey working at many other organizations around education, from K to 12 systems, working with the Houston educational system, the SDI, working with New York City public education, the largest school district in the country, being a partner of some of the organizations I work with, working with KIPP, working with Teach for America, working with AmeriCorps, working with the City University of New York. That was my touch to work with colleges and universities in New York. And then I moved to South Florida. And here in South Florida, I was right away finding my niche on education. I worked for the superintendent of schools for around 6 months when I moved here. And then also got involved really quick, and I became part of the advisory educational board of the city of Sunrise, which I served for 3 years. I was the co-chair when I left. And then last but not least, I am currently the executive director of an education youth leadership program called the YB Foundation Fellowship, in which we help students and families to understand the process of becoming the best version of themselves before high school kids make big decisions like going to college or doing a post-secondary option. And so through my 12 years, more than a decade of work in the community here in Florida and also in New York City, I decided that I wanted to run for office for a couple of reasons. But the most important one was because during COVID, and I don't know if you guys remember, there was a lot of community meetings that happened through Zoom. And there was hundreds and hundreds of parents that joined those meetings. Well, I was that parent that put that platform together. I was the person who called the elected officials, called the community members, rallied the people, and got them into a Zoom to really understand what was happening in our school district. And, I was not sitting on the sidelines. I was not, dealing with something else. For me, was the parents, the educators, the teachers were burning out and going through so many things. And our kids were the most important thing for me at that point, besides my family, of course. I have a wife and a son. And I wanted to be through that to have a positive impact in my community. And, fast forward after the second wave of COVID, because it looks like we're getting into a third wave now, I decided to run for office, and I decided to run for the school district at large. But then, I suffer a major health issue. I got an aneurysm in my brain. So I had an open brain surgery a year ago, actually, May 12th, which was the kickoff of our campaign a couple of weeks ago. Last week was the anniversary of my brain surgery. And 6 months after the surgery, I recovered really fast. My neurosurgeon told me I'm a living miracle. I'm a walking miracle. They really saved my life, and many people that are watching here that maybe know me know that I recovered extremely fast. And community members called me and they were like, "John, run for office. Your district now has changed. You are part of another district. Before I used to belong to Dr. Oswood district, and a lot of respect for her, many other people who were running for that office. I will never step into that. And there's really great community members there from the African American community, and that's their seat, and I will always respect that. But then we have this access seat here now in District 6. 35% of our community is Hispanic. I will be the first Hispanic, the first immigrant Hispanic Latino to be on that seat, and that's what we want to do. We want to make history, and I will be the first millennial elected through voting, right, to popular vote, to be in that seat.
All right. Okay.
All right, you said a lot, but first thing I want to say is, I'm so glad to see that you're healthy and that you're doing well, and you're here to, speak and represent the people of the community. So that I definitely wanted to say shout out, thank God, thank your doctors, thank you for doing your part. And I'm glad to see that you're healthy and that you recovered from such a major health issue, so definitely wanted to give you a lot of respect for that. You said a couple of things, but Narnique heard the beginning, so I'm gonna let her ask her question first, and I'm gonna go into the notes that I took from the part that I heard. Sorry, y'all, I was late.
Awesome.
No, not at all. And by the way, for all you that watch that knows how we do our show, whatever, Sandra said to go ahead and start without her. So I did,
because I didn't want him to wait. You know what I mean? I didn't want him to wait.
We communicate, okay? Like, go in and start, girl. I'll be there in a few. So.
Yes, I'm coming on because I didn't want to hold him up. He got things to do. This campaign season is short. People are going to start voting in August. We're already in May. So I feel like everybody's kind of like behind the 8 ball in terms of the amount of time they had to campaign. So he definitely didn't want to waste any of his time because he got a lot of things to do before August, So,
right. And COVID and COVID don't want us to be great out here. So we just
we're gonna be great and do great things.
That's what we gonna do. All right. So I know
did you shout out Haitian Flag Day before we all
I sure
Yes,
did.
we did. I
All
did
right.
too.
I have to let y'all know I'm representing too. I got on my Haitian flag shirt, Haitian Flag Day, so just representing.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
That's right. We're all about that. And I said some words in Creole.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. So I know you got notes, co-host, and from his introduction, but I'm just gonna go into the questions because I want people to hear what he has to say. So we want to know what your top 3 things you will focus on for District 6. And I'm assuming that you did mention something about 35% of your district is a Latino and Hispanic. So, but what are your top 3 things that you want to focus on in District 6?
Right. And then when you become an elected official, you go and you serve for everyone, right? It's not just about the access seat. It's not about just the Hispanic immigrant community and the immigrant community as a whole and the minority community as a whole. As I'm the only minority candidate in the ticket, is just, it's serving everyone. So we have 3 top things that we want to do. One, the first one is repairing trust. Through COVID and even before, there is, I mentioned yesterday, I was at the school board meeting and I spoke and I said, perception is reality. Perception is reality. The perception that people have around the school board, it's that we cut corners, we don't do things the right way, we don't communicate, there's a lot of corruption inside. We want to change that by making sure that we have a clear communication with our parents, with our stakeholders, and with the administrators. So that's the first thing. We're going to make sure that we're repairing the trust that has been, that we have lost in the last decade, or maybe a little more than that, because really people are completely disconnected from what's going on in the school district. Then the second thing we want to look into, it's creating transparency. So this goes back into making sure that we create processes in which we are making sure people that are getting money from us are spending the right way, and that they are being accountable for what they have to execute with that money. We all talk about this smart bond, the $800 million now being $1.3 or $1.4 billion now over budget. I was just talking to families in Cooper City. They're like, some of the projects have not been really executed. We don't know what's going to happen. Principals is still waiting for some results. That cannot happen in the 6th largest school district in the country. With the largest budget that we have and the money that we have received for the community, we cannot be doing that in the wrong way. We have to make sure that we have an accountability system. And that has to be also just not about money, but it has to be also about inclusion and equity, right? We have to be accountable about that. So we want to create transparency about different systems. And then the one that we're really about, it's building a better system for our kids. And that encompasses a couple of things. The first one is making sure that our teachers are getting paid better and treated better, and they feel welcome to the school district, that they feel that they are being valued for what they do. And if any teacher is watching, any BTU member, any teacher that is not part of the union or so forth, please make sure that you know that I will be the biggest champion of teachers in the school district. I think they just are burnt out right now. We have a shortage of teachers. Of course, people change their careers. So we want to make sure that that happens. And then in the academics, we have to start looking into how to make education more friendly to our kids. I was just, again, talking to families today and had the same thing coming up to me. It's kids don't have enough time to eat. Kids don't have enough time for recess. Kids don't have quality food. Kids don't have quality places, classrooms, and spaces to be focused into the educational, make it fun. I think that we lost that. We need to go back to the basics of what education is about. And then through that, of course, working on two other things, on making our better system for our kids. It's security, right? Making sure the safety, it's a priority. And again, I'm not talking about security. I'm not talking only about a police officer, and having a resource officer there. But we need to work on mental health. We need to work on communities coming together to talk to the cities that invest some of them in our, infrastructure for security and making sure that our students and communities are safe, to make sure that we have pilot programs in which the cities are integrated into those solutions with mental health. Mental health is an incredibly important piece to make the system that we have right now better for our kids. So that is just a high level over 3 initiatives that we are really socializing with our community. Our slogan is listening to you. So that's what I've been doing for a long time now. But the last thing I would say, Narnik, it's that if you go to our website right now, www.jmeforschoolboard.com, you will find our campaign platform. We are the only campaign, as far as we know, that has a platform, a PDF you could download, and you could look, what is John's position on LGBTQ+? What is John's position on teachers? What is John's position on infrastructure? What is John's position on the green initiatives, which are really important? We will become sustainable with the help of the board to become 100% sustainable by 2029. So download that document, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and ask us questions about the document. We want to hear from you.
Can you repeat your page again?
Yes, it's www.jme, that's the initials of my name, John Moreno-Escobar, like Debbie Washington Schultz, DWS. Ours is JME for schoolboard.com.
The number 4
or FOR?
FOR. Good question.
All right.
A lot of people ask me that question. Is the number or is the letters?
All right, I have a couple questions. So, did you? Again, I came in later. I'm apologize again. Were you part of Teach for America? Is that what you were saying, that you were part of Teach for America? Because I heard you say Teach for America, and I'm familiar with it, so I wanted to know if you had some involvement with that.
No, I work with them. I know I work with Teach for America with Wendy Cup. They were partners of one of my initiatives in New York City and here in South Florida. And they have always support any of the initiatives that I have started in the past. So I was overseeing the partnership of the projects that I was working with Teach for America, KIP, and other initiatives and other organizations that work around, college access and teaching access and teaching training.
Okay, yeah, no, because I'm familiar with the program, and I had several classmates that went through that program. I know some people that was that were given 2-year assignments here, and I also know a person who ended up, on the executive board. So I'm really familiar with the program, and I know that's a good program. So I wanted to know if you had involvement and what was the extent of your involvement in that program. So there was another point that I wanted to make with you, but you did kind of correct it a little bit, but I still want to talk about that.
Yep.
You said that your district had just recently changed, and so now you're in Group 6 instead of being in Group 5. And then you said that you said something about like you would not have gotten into that race because there's a pretty good African Americans that are running, and that's really their seat. Like, why would you make a statement like that? Why is it necessary that it should be an African American person representing District 5 when who's ever on the school board is supposed to be doing what's best for everyone in Broward County?
That's a great point. I just feel that representation matters, and our school board should look like the districts that we are distributing. So if you look into the school board right now, you see that there is a lack of representation and diversity. Huge. For our Hispanic community, we only have one person who was just appointed by the governor, which is not going to be there after. So we have to look into that. And then we don't have the African American Caribbean representation. And so I think that we as leaders, we have to recognize that there have been redistricting, and we're filling in now with what is happening in Tallahassee at the state level, but we have done redistricting for a reason, and it's to make sure that there is representation at every level of government.
Oh, wait a minute. So you think the redistricting that's happening right now is to make sure that the people
are I'm saying
represented in?
Okay. You're not hearing what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that we are facing those challenges at the state level because our governor decided to make maps when he was sleeping and trying to take out the vote and take out the voice of African American and Hispanic communities and communities of color. Here in this district, in Broward County Public Schools districts, we have the opportunity through those access seats, District 5, District 6, to make sure that we have the representation that we need in order to make sure that our school board is represented the right way. Now, I will say, and I will state it again, that I will respect deeply if the best candidate on District 5 is prepared, it's well-known, and is sitting in that chair, because that's what we have to do. We should not be jumping into races just because we think that it's fun and we want to do something. We should be respecting the person that is there and is doing a great job. And that's what I looked up to many people who were in those seats before, and especially the new senator that was just elected, right? She did a great job. She was in tough times. She made the decisions that she needed to make. Now there's a great pool of people. I saw the last interview you guys had was with District 5 candidate. She's a great individual. There's other people that I know in that race, and I'm really happy that we're not fighting between us. Then they come here and divide us and win those seats.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, but I still think I agree with you that the board does not look like what Broward County looks like, right? Because if it did look if the board truly represented what Broward County looked like, the board would probably be a third, and a third, right? You know, it'd be like 3 Black people, 3 Hispanic people, 3 white people on the board, but that ain't what it looked like. So we know that it's not representing the county. But what I'm gonna take a little issue with, and I'm not gonna beat you up on this, but I think that African American, Black, Caribbean, Hispanic, whoever that will be on the board does not need to come out of District 5 or 6, right? Because there are Black people from the Caribbean that lives throughout this county in every single neighborhood in all of the districts. And I think a Black, African American, Hispanic community can come out of any one of those districts and properly represent the people of Broward County, right? So that's the only point that I'm going to make. They don't have to come out of 5 and 6. They don't have to come out of predominantly Black community, Hispanic, whatever. They can come out of seat 4, which I really want somebody to run against the person that's represented like district, seat 4. A person of color can come out of that community and do a very good job for the students of Broward County. So that's the only thing I would take issue with, is that they don't have to come out of a predominantly a Black community, Hispanic community of color in order to be on the board. They can come out of any one of those neighborhoods, and there are people that fit those categories that live in every single district in Broward County.
I completely agree. The last thing I would say about this, because I hear you, Sandra. I completely agree with you. It's not just about those districts, but the way that the districts were built, and it happens now with the commission, by the way. There's the district and at the commission level, at the Broward County Commission level. We've seen this. There's access seats. Access seats are important because even though you have incredible candidates in certain cities, certain areas, you know that unfortunately those candidates will have a hard time to get into those seats, even if they're the best in District 4, District 1, District 2, or at large. It's just, that's why we create this. That's what it's part of the legislative, to create the access seats, because we know it's a reality. That will be the last thing I will mention about this.
Okay, yeah, we're going to agree to disagree.
But I love this. I love this. This is what it is about.
We're going to agree to disagree. All right, do you have the next question, or if not?
I have, yes. So the next question, you mentioned, as you were talking about the top 3 things that you see in District 6 that you would like to address, you talked about a little bit about mental health. And we all know that there has been a nice uptick trend in people making sure that mental health is becoming a priority. However, as you mentioned about the governor who was trying to make a map while he was asleep, and I totally agree with you.
He was wide awake when he did it, and he was very intentional in what he did. That's what
so back to the mental health thing. We have something in Broward County called social emotional learning. Mm-hmm. And the last one of the legislations that was passed through on the request of the governor was of the Florida legislation that passed legislation that had to do with critical race theory, but also had to do with social emotional learning. And social emotional learning is a component to that mental health component that you were talking about. And while the legislation does not become into effect in October, it will, however, affect the school year coming through. I did have a conversation. I do iZone meetings. I'm not sure if you were aware of what that is. iZone meeting is usually with a meeting with the neighboring school, maybe 5 or 6 neighboring schools, and you have principals, you have community stakeholders. They all come to this meeting. They kind of get like an update of what's going on within the district. So one of the questions I asked was about the social emotional learning with the cadre director. And as of right now, Broward County is still operating on the sense with social emotional learning and how they incorporate it. However, because they don't know what that's going to look like, and that would be something a board member would have to discuss as well on the dais, is how that's going to change, because the governor has made it very clear that social and emotional learning is not something that's necessary. As a matter of fact, that it's indoctrination. And so if you are so honored to be chosen to be the representative for District 6. What does your voting look like in terms of social emotional learning? Because at some point you all will have to either change it drastically, remove it. You would have to make that type of decision. And so where do you guys stand? Because while we were dealing with the pandemic, majority of the school board members were in agreement of making sure kids wear masks, people wear masks to keep down the COVID numbers and basically defied the state, actually the governor. Do you think that you would be a board member that would, especially for social emotional learning, something that's very important, especially in this district, to be one of those not outliers, but would be one of those board
we just want to know, where would you stand on the issue?
What would you do if you had
where would you stand on that issue?
To remove social emotional learning or keep it? Where will you be?
Right. So let me just tell a little bit about my experience working with teachers and working with kids that are, especially kids that are immigrants, and how that specific social emotional component is critical for those populations, for those kids, and for all the kids, but specifically for those. And the way that I perceive teachers have been pulled into take care of that social emotional intelligence piece in the classroom. The first thing I will say is that I'm all in for social emotional intelligence to be the driven, car of how we deal with situations in our schools and with our students. But most importantly, we need to have experts on social emotional issues in our schools. Many of our teachers are getting just trained on the fly to learn about the issues and learn how to deal with it. And I think that is something that we have to fix. We have to bring experts to deal with those issues in our schools. So if I get an item or something in front of me that will remove that component from our school district, I will 100% be against it, because I think social emotional learning is the most important component any educational system should have in order to move forward with equity, inclusion, with mental health, with academic progress. It's just extremely important. And just thinking that that we will be removing it, or that we will be thinking remotely of diminish that from our school district, is not part of what I will be doing when I'm in the dais.
Okay. And so to just follow up on that, from your, I'm pretty sure you've been doing some research and learning about the district and all that other stuff. From your personal opinion, do you believe that critical race theory is being taught in schools?
No, we're just teaching, we're teaching the history of this country. And there's certain people that are trying to make us invisible. And I think that, we need to head on going at it and really explain to, our parents and some community at large how we stand on this issue, and that we cannot be, just eliminating the history of our African American and even Indian American communities. It's just something that we should not be doing. So I think that what we are teaching right now is not an indoctrination. When we're talking about Martin Luther King, or when we're talking about any other African American leader that fought for the rights of this country, it's just unbelievable now that we're thinking about just removing it from our curriculum. I have a biracial kid, and I show him all these different stories of their Latino, the American and the African American communities, and he's learning about all this, and I'm really proud to say that he is learning about the history of the United States.
All right. So the next question we have is about the superintendent. We want to know what your views are of the current superintendent, but we also want to know how you felt about the hiring process with the superintendent. You can pick which one you want to start first.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, because I feel that there was a process, right? There was a process they created, right? They are in the board. They are the ones who are creating this process. They went through it. I felt that there was a need of having more candidates. I don't know why this firm that was hired through the school district didn't bring more candidates into the mix. I feel that they were just like going and taking individuals around the state where places that they had openings for superintendents. So in terms of the process, I think that it was just the way it is, and I really feel that they went through the process at that point. The other part is my taking on the superintendent. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have enough information until this point to judge an executive like the CEO of our school district. I feel that she's learning the inroads of Broward County, that she's learning about her own staff, that she's learning what things should be changed and what things should be not. And the times that I have interacted with her, she's open to listening to the conversations. She is proactive to listen to the people. And we will be able to, maybe when she gets into her first year term, which will be in a couple of months, then we will look into everything that she did as a interim and superintendent. But I think that it's new, and I feel that we need to give her a chance to show us what she could do and what she needs to grow. And I think that as a community leader, and all of us as community leaders, all the people that are watching, we should start looking into the areas that she needs to improve and making sure that she knows that we are watching and that we are participating in that process of growth. She is leading the 6th largest school district in the country. There's a lot of growing pains when you have a new leader. And I think that we should look into her process as she grows in the organization, but also being really an ally in a positive way to give her positive feedback of things that she needs to pivot and change.
Is that what Broward County needed, though? Was Broward County in a position where the superintendent was someone that was going to be learning on the job? Was that the best thing for the students in Broward County Public School, to have a superintendent that's going to be learning on the job?
Well, I think that every time you get into a job, you learn. I don't think that even if you understand the entirely of the business,
okay, I understand you need to learn, but do you a school district this large would in the fact that it's in South Florida and it's a very attractive place to come, wouldn't it have made more sense to get somebody that had more experience?
Well, what I could say again, it's, we're talking about qualification and really understanding the system of a county like Broward. She's not an exchange to the Florida system, for sure. She has been in Florida, learning about the Florida system for a while now. I think that if you look into the qualifications, everyone has their own opinion about her qualifications as a superintendent. What I'm referring to, it's being new at the job. You just don't sit and start doing. You have to sit and learn about your surroundings. Who's my assistant? Who's the cadre director? Who's the, what is my cabinet? Where their brains are. You're never going to get that just by going through an interview. You just have to sit on the position and learn. So even though people might think that just, we needed someone who could, start running, I think that she actually really has done a decent job when it comes into like really opening her mind to learn from the community. Because even if it was someone local, there's so many things within the school district. I'm telling you, because I worked at the school district, there's so many things within the school district, inside of those offices, in that office in downtown Broward and downtown Fort Lauderdale, that until you don't sit in that chair, you really don't get to understand. And so if we had the opportunity to have someone with more experience, Sandra, yes, maybe we were not having maybe a lot of candidates, again, to my first point, that had a lot of experience. But, now we have Dr. Cartwright, and she's there. I think that we have, as a community, to come together, criticize positively, and making sure that she knows that we are watching and call her out when she's making mistakes. I did yesterday for the people who were watching the school board meeting. I went to talk in front of the board about the superintendent organizational chart, and I said she was tasked with some homework. She delivered the homework on time, and now we are talking about the process. The process had a lot of flags. That had a lot of issues for me. There was no enough community participation. So she has to keep hearing those things. So she fixed those things in order to be more successful at the job.
Well, the reason why I asked you about the process in terms of, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. So the reason why I asked you about the process with the superintendent is because the school board members are the ones who established the rules on how the process was supposed to go. So initially, when the new superintendent, who is now, applied for the job, she was applying for the job based on a temporary basis. Then all of a sudden, the school board members decided they want to switch that up. And now, and it, for people outside looking in, it appears that they switched it up to accommodate this new superintendent. And it didn't sit well with a lot of stakeholders. You know, we weren't really happy about that because the will of the people was not adhered to in for those outside who were looking in. So that's why I asked you that, because when you get on, if you are so honored to get on the board, one of the things I think a lot of the elected officials lose in translation is that they're a servant for the people, and you have to do the will of the people. And so, you know, I don't think for those, I'm just speaking for those who I've spoken to, I don't think we appreciate the fact that school board members will switch up things just to you know, either fulfill or accommodate something that they're trying to do when it's not for the people. I don't know Dr. Cartwright really as much. Well, I've learned a little bit about her, learned that she had some issues in her old job before coming here. So as a constituent and as someone who, it's important for me that an elected official do things on our behalf, I feel slighted a little bit. So that's just my thing. And that's why I was asking you, because as a school board member, you have to make these decisions, and it should really be based and driven by the people, not by what you think you can do to get through and you know, as quickly as you can, or because you like this person and all that other stuff. So that's
why we put as the centerpiece in our number one goal in this campaign to repair the trust. Because when these things happen, that's what I said, perception is reality. Perception is reality. And so, like you and many community members that I also have talked to in the last 2 years, it's, you know, people just feel that they do whatever they want and they're not listening to the community. And it might be that some of them are listening, but we don't see it. They might be that some of them talk to their you know, leaders in their community. Maybe some of them have forums, but let's be honest here. Let's be real. You know, the number of school board members that have any communication through social media, it's really minimal. I mean, I see new school board members really taking it on, and past board members that taking it on and really communicating what is happening. But really, there's others that have not even tweeted or put a Facebook post since they got elected. And so that is a problem, and we have to fix that. And so I appreciate the question in the process, because I think that, you know, he has to be clear and he has to go to the public first and then come back. That's what I said. The process was whatever they decided, and I don't want to get into the weeds because I have a lot of observations on that. But I feel that, you know, when we have a person already in place, what we have to do now is moving on and making sure that she hears from us, the people who have been with the community, with the students, with the teachers, with the parents, that we go into the board meetings, that we write comments online, that we make sure that she hears that people are not being listened to. And that's all we could do as constituencies, right? And we also have to connect with our school board members and making sure that they know that we are listening, that we are paying attention.
All right.
Okay, so all right, so I wanted to make I'm not on mute. Okay, all right, so I appreciate the answer. So I was in a meeting earlier today and yesterday, and then all this moving on part, right? Like that's a little bit of a trigger for me, because I'm like, y'all always trying to move on when it be ugly, right? Instead of addressing what it is, right? And that's part of what a mistake that I think we just make in general is that instead of really just addressing, going through the ickiness, like if they're bad feelings, we need to work through it, and then you can really move on. But just to kind of ignore it and leave it all sticky and nasty and then move on, like, really, that's not how it's supposed. I don't think that's how it works, and I really don't think that's healthy, because all of that stuff is still in the background, even though everyone moved on, because there's still all of these feelings. So I think that needs to be addressed. And I have to say that one of the concerns I had about the school superintendent, because we got information about how she treated special needs kids, right? And I'm a mom of a special needs child, so like anybody that's not taking care of children the way they should, and period, is a problem with me. But then particularly our special needs community, if there's any just indication that they weren't properly addressing that community, is problematic for me. And those are what my concerns were.
All right. So our final question before we get all your social media information so we can post out there and all that other stuff. So, we know that we're losing a lot of teachers.
Oh, no. So can I ask one more question before we get to the final question? Because it was related. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about is that you were saying how you were one of the folks that put together all of those community meetings to get parents and everybody involved, right? So I usually say I'm a child of immigrant, but then I forget that I'm an immigrant myself, right? So but I had parents who didn't read or write any language. They were not going to be able to go to online to no meetings. How is it that you would communicate with that particular population? Because there's some folks who they're not going to the internet. They're not going to be able to go on Facebook to find anything. And sometimes they have the children who they really need to get that information, because they have kids who, if the kids aren't doing well in school, could tell their parents anything because they can't go on Pinnacle and check, right? So what is it that you would do as a board member to be able to communicate and get information to that population? Because depending on the community that you're servicing, that's going to be a significant part of the population.
So thank you for that question. Actually, I had that question just now during lunch when I was meeting with these parents and these community members. And, I feel that there is a disconnect, right? And we need to really fill that gap by going to the communities, like walking the neighborhoods, walking and talking to the small businesses, talking to parents in their places that they are. And I don't know, I haven't really, since I started the journey of running for office, I asked people, like, do you know who's your school board member? And I will tell you 80 to 90% of the people I ask, they don't know. They haven't seen them in their churches. They haven't seen them in the non-for-profit organizations. So I think that there is a disconnect there. And what I want to do, Sandra, to your question, it's I want to really be a person who is in the community, going and talking to people, taking surveys. Social media is important for some generation, but there's other communities that are not into that social media thing. We have to serve them. We have to go and talk to them. We have to find translators. Another thing that I'm trying to put into the platform now, it's making sure that every single school board meeting, even if the person is not watching it, every single school board meeting should have 3 components. One, a translation in another language, either if it's after the meeting is finished, to put it into a Spanish, Creole, and Portuguese, which are our 3 main languages in the school district. Then the second thing is that we have to have sign language. I mean, we are completely vanishing a bunch of, a group of our school district without having any information because they don't know what is going on, right? And the third one is to making sure that every time we have a school board member, it pops in the website of our school district website. It doesn't show up. You have to look 15 clicks after you find the meeting, you find the agenda. It has to come right on the screen when you go into browardschools.com. And again, to your question, we have to humanize this public service thing. It has to get out of, is John Moreno-Escobar the school board member from District 6, and he's in this place up there. Nobody could talk to him. Nobody could email him. He emails, he sends the assistant. No, we will be in the streets, in the neighborhoods, talking to people. We're starting next month, listening tours in our cities. We're going to go and talk to people, because and I said this, and I said without offending anyone, so don't take it like that. I think that the new generational politicians like me really understand that the connection has to be online and offline. We have to be present. We are tired of seeing people up there in those positions, not even listening for a second, not even picking a phone and calling someone. And that needs to change. And so, as a millennial, as a new, young, a person who has never been in politics coming into this position, I want to make sure that it's a priority as well. So thank you for your question, Sandra.
All right. Well, we like that answer, because we all about,
You like all my answers.
When I was running, I was like, if I win, I'm gonna just be doing town hall meetings all the time, every week, so just to make sure I grab the people that I missed. And that was an important thing, because like Sandra said, there's a whole population that doesn't even look at those things. And so we need to be able to touch, feel, and listen to those people. So that's
they don't know who the school board member is. They don't know what they do. And I do think they do need to engage in the community more, particularly in communities where you do have people who don't have, access to the internet, or even if they have access, just don't have the sophistication to deal with that type of information.
That's what I said, that even when you're not running, you have to keep canvassing.
That's right.
You finish canvassing and you win and you do your work, then you keep canvassing. You keep going and visiting your voters. You keep visiting the people who didn't vote for you. You keep visiting those places, and you go into the churches, and you go into the non-for-profits and the after-school programs and introduce yourself.
Yes.
And guess what? When you go run again, right? People will know this person was doing the job. This person is not about the cliques and the people that are, there in politics. It's just the community who should be electing you.
Absolutely. So you know what?
Do your last question? Do your last question.
My last question is that we're losing staff and teachers, and it's at a very alarming rate. What are some of the things that you want to do, or what things that you've learned that could possibly help bring those staff that we lost, but also mitigate the staff that we may potentially lose as we go into the summer months?
Yeah, that's a tough question, to be honest with you. I don't feel that anyone will have a straight answer, because everyone will say raise the salaries. Yeah, but that doesn't in our purview. That's the state. The first thing that I would say is, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we need to appreciate the work of teachers more. I talk to teachers all the time. I have actually 3 teachers in my family. So I talk to them enough to know that it's great when Teachers Appreciation Week comes, or Teacher Appreciation Day comes, and they get a voucher, they get a discount, and that's great. But that's not what they really need. They need to be able to pay for their rent. They need to be able to pay for their food. They need to have access to many other ways through the higher of the salary. So we have to really work on, yes, appreciating their work and making sure that they feel welcoming and valuable in our system, and really work hard to go into Tallahassee and advocate for a raise for their pay. That is something that we could definitely do. Now, that is controlled by Tallahassee, right? What I'm trying to bring into the fold as a new school board member, it's that we need to start looking into how, like Washington, D.C. did in order to raise the salary of the entire district teachers paid, was that they restructured the whole entire budget. And their budget now, if you look into it, has funds that have been provided through private, public, and independent individuals who believe in the power of public education. And now they have a pot that is separate from their funding from the state, the Washington, D.C., and they actually are able to funnel more money to go and match national salaries in the United States. And they did that because they rally corporations. And now if you look into our county, right, which is one of the richest places on earth, on the United States, sorry, got excited. In the United States, we are able to do that. There is corporations and more individuals that come in here with a lot of wealth that could contribute to a fund to really make sure that we are raising the salaries of our teachers. And I think that's going to make a difference. We have to also make more benefits available for them. We're talking about affordable housing. Well, we need to have and create something that is specific for teachers when it comes into purchasing their first or second home, right? We need to make sure that those programs, people know about them, because there's some federal programs that are out there, but no local programs talking to contractors and builders that are developers that are working on new properties, that they have, mixed income opportunities also for our teachers. But the teachers here in Florida specifically are not getting paid enough, and of course in Broward it's just ridiculous. It's
okay.
I don't know how they can survive.
I wanted to ask a question about that. So is the pay with teachers that have experience, or teachers when they're first coming in, right? Because I went to law school, and when I graduated from law school, there were teachers that were making pretty much more money than I did, or we were kind of matching the same, right? You know what I mean? Like, because I was working for the public defender's office. I was also a state of Florida employee. I think the year I came out, teacher's starting salary might have been $26,000. Mine was 22 before I passed the bar and 28 after. Okay. Yeah. So I did a whole 3-year grad program, and my salary was $2,000 more than a starting teacher. So when we're talking about this pay, and I was 20-something years old. I mean, still living with my mama. That wasn't bad. You know what I mean? I think when you start getting spouses and children and all of that, then maybe my need for income is more. So are we talking about increasing teachers' pay based on after years of experience, or just to get them into the profession?
Right.
Where's this increase you're talking about? Because I think they did do that. I think starting salary for teachers now are like $47,000.
It's still not enough.
But imagine the starting salary for an attorney is 50. You know,
right. It's still not enough, and
the
so
lawyers,
it is.
The lawyers are saying the lawyers are mad.
But
y'all, we went to school longer, and y'all making almost as much as we are.
Well, no, and we appreciate lawyers too. Don't take it that way. We do. But we're talking about a combination of things, right? First is attracting people to the field. So that's what technology jobs are so attractive to people, because they have a really big entry level salary. We have to look into that with our teachers. I think that is still not enough, Sandra, for me. $47,000 to survive in Broward County. I don't know how they do it. And some of the parents, remember, some of the teachers are parents. Mm-hmm. Some of those teachers have families. Some of those teachers are taking care of people, right? The other part to that, right, it's how we do the increments based on the years that they have been in service and how effective they have been, which is another long conversation. We can do another Zoom call about this, another Facebook Live. But the other thing is really talking to you both questions, talking to the universities that are the pipeline for our teachers, right? We need to have more apprenticeships. We need to have more conversations. I think Broward County Public Schools does a good job with FAU. They have a pipeline program that works really well. But, we need more teachers to come into the profession. But just nationwide, it's an issue. Mm-hmm. And it's just because there's other factors that play into this, right? Again, housing affordability issue. It's huge. And when you have a teacher who's teaching in Weston or teaching in Coral Springs and is living in the other side of town and is driving an hour to get to work, right? And he's driving another hour to come back, and the gas prices are super high. Now you create this moment in which teachers are like, you know what? I'm burnt out. Like, I cannot drive this. The gas prices are too high. I'm not getting paid enough. I'm going to look for something else. And unfortunately, I have to say that I have a couple of friends of mine that were teachers that just recently quit their jobs because they were like, it's just unsustainable. So we have to take care of them. We have to appreciate them more than just give them something. And the last thing I will say, it's that, we have to stop telling them what to do all the time. I always make this joke when I'm talking to people. It's like when you go to the dentist, you open your mouth and you don't tell the dentist how to drill in your tooth, how to put you the numbness here, no, you just open your mouth and you believe. And I have seen teachers, they have been able to thrive in their profession because they get to do what they do best, which is teaching. And I'm not saying all the incredible teachers that we have. Yes, we have incredible teachers. We have other ones that we have to, bring them under the wing of training and professional development and make them better teachers. But we have to let them, practice what they actually spend their time doing. And that's going to be also part of the success. But there is no secret bullet. We still, we have to talk to, I think that at this point we have to talk to national leaders to really address these issues here in Broward County, to see what they did in Washington, D.C., go visit and see how they dealing with this pay rate and the way that they are really treating their teachers now. But I think it's a nationwide issue, this retention of teachers, retention of bus drivers now, retention of food service personnel, all over the map in Broward County. We've been getting hit by what happened after COVID. So
absolutely. All right, Mr. Escobar, thank you so much for answering the questions, and thank you for being honest by saying that, listen, there's no real good answer for this question because it's, there's so many things, there's so many layers. So it's always good to hear candidates say, listen, I don't really have a good answer for you because there's so much going on. There's so many things we got to tackle. So how can you be reached? How can people donate to your campaign? How can they come and volunteer for you? What's your information? All that. Get on your.
First of all, I want to thank you two for what you do. I have been following. I know, Narnik, you run for office, and I know that you did great competition out there. You did great on your race. And I think that these spaces are needed before and after elections.
Absolutely.
You guys do a great job doing that. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for reaching out. I think I replied the same moment you guys send it to me, because I think this is really important to make make sure that people get to know us. As you know, it's really hard when you have never run for office. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that, and with this I will finish and then I share my social media and handles and all that. It's that, when you're not a politician like me, you get to see those things like, I don't have an answer, right? I don't have an answer, and I'm trying to see how to fix it, because as much as I have experience on education and management, you know, when I looked at the teachers' salaries and the teachers' retention, it's just something that we need to find another solution out of the box. Mm-hmm. So that's what I appreciate that you mentioned that, because I'm not a politician. I'm not going to come up with this matrix of how we're going to do it and getting into the matrix zone. It's really complicated.
Right.
To your question, the last question. Well, again, the website, you guys have been putting it up there. That's the way to get to us. The other way, it's through Facebook. So if you go into Facebook and you put my name, which is really rare because of the Escobar, John Moreno-Escobar, it will pop up. He says, you know, JME for School Board District 6.
Oh no, the internet. I'll tell you, the internet.
He
should come. He'll probably come back in in a minute. Yeah, you froze a little bit. Go ahead and tell us that information again. Sorry.
So no, it's okay. So the website, you guys already shared it. The Facebook, just my name, John Moreno-Escobar. You will find me. You could click there and follow us on Facebook. We're almost getting 2,000 followers now. Going to our Instagram page, we're getting almost to 1,000 followers on Instagram. All natural, no promotion, no money put in there.
Very nice.
So Instagram, John Moreno-Escobar. Twitter, John Moreno-Escobar. You could find me on those platforms like that. Please, I'm going to urge you, if you like what you heard, if you like who I am, if you like our platform, that you could actually download, as many of the candidates, how many of you have a platform that I can download to read your whole program, but I'm the only one who has that. Go into our website. The first thing is going to come up, donate, because we need your donations. This really grassroots effort.
Donate your time too.
Donate your time. You have there another form that you could put your volunteer hours, but please donate today. www.jmeforschoolboard.com. The website is right there on the screen. Thank you, ladies, for your time, for your leadership, and for this space.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And let me
tell you, thank you so much. And I want to tell you.
Oh, and when is the election?
August 23rd, 2022.
Did they put out the early voting dates yet?
Yes, I did. They are out, but I don't have that in front of me.
I believe it started
that August 23rd, 2022 is the last day.
The last day.
You can vote for him. The last day. We need y'all to do early voting so they'll know what's happening, where they need to go, put their resources. And so August 23rd, 2022 will be the last day.
August 13th is the early voting date. August 13th is when you start to early. Okay. We want to thank you for running. You know what? It's not an easy fit. It's not something that is not for the faint of heart. And for the first time running, we want to thank you for running, because it's important that people know that you can just be someone who is passionate about your community and run for office. So thank you for running.
And you're right, representation matters. We appreciate that.
Representation does matter. And we wish you luck. And please join him. Go to his website, www.jmeforschoolboard.com. That means John Moreno-Escobar for schoolboard.com. Go to visit his website, go donate, go help out, and be part of the process. That's what we're about.
Give him some of that Starbucks money. Give up that coffee for a day and give him that Starbucks money. It adds up.
It sure does.
It adds up. Give him them $5. He good.
Yeah, he helps.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us so candidly. We appreciate you and we wish you good luck, sir.
Thank you, ladies. Again, thank you for the space. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you for coming. So them 2,000 followers on Facebook, $5.
Okay, with your 2,000. You better go on. You better go on with your 2,000 and your 1,000 child. All right.
Asking for much.
That's right. Send him 5, 10, 20, 15, 20, 20.
I'm telling you, donate.
Send him some money. All right. Take care.
Thank
you.
Have a good one. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have to go. So we have to do another wrap up. We'll do a wrap up. Another time. We're gonna have some time, but there's some things that's been going on and we got to talk about. And so we got
to do some things. And we got to do some things. And I think we need to start like popping in for like 10, 15 minutes. When these things happen, because it's a lot built up. You know what I mean? And we do have to focus on these candidates. And I think he did a great job. He answered the wonderful job.
Yeah.
I have some different feelings that I don't know if I'm gonna make public yet or nothing like that. But for the most part, he answered the question to the best of his abilities. I mean, there were some things that we agreed to disagree on, which is okay, right? Because I'm just here to ask the questions, and that's kind of what we do. He answered them the way he saw fit, and we're giving you choices. He's not running against Ruth Carter Lynch. She was a candidate we interviewed last week. We're interviewing him. There's a few more coming up. There's a few more coming up. So, we just want to help you get the information so you can make an informed decision when you cast your vote. But yeah, we need to start like maybe doing like some 10-15-minute segments when some stuff happened so we can talk about. So we may add that as another element to the show, since we're gonna, this is campaign season. We have midterm elections, and we're gonna really spend a lot of time, at least as much time as the candidates need in order for them to develop and speak on that platform.
So next week we have 2 candidates that we'll be talking to. One is running for mayor of North
Lauderdale,
and then another school board candidate for District 5.
Yes.
Jimmy Witherspoon will be joining us on Thursday next week. So we have Wednesday, the mayor that's running for North Lauderdale, and then we have Jimmy Witherspoon on Thursday. We will be sending out, posting our flyers soon so you all can see. Again, it's campaign season, y'all, but we still talk and interweave things.
So the North Lauderdale mayoral candidate is Anna Zaid, Ziade. Anna Zaid. She's the candidate for mayor of North Lauderdale.
At 5:00 on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, we'll be talking to Jimmy Witherspoon, who's running for school board for District 5. Okay. We still haven't talked about Buffalo. We will be talking about Buffalo.
Yeah, we're gonna probably just hop on for like 15-20 minutes tomorrow and talk about Buffalo.
We will. And then we're still gonna be talking about the 55%.
Yeah, we need to talk about them too. They
All
probably
right.
reason why Buffalo happened, but okay.
That's exactly why it happened. So we'll see you all next week. We'll actually jump on tomorrow for 15 minutes. But you know what? Hey, listen, COVID numbers are still rising. Please wear your mask.
Wear your mask.
Safe, social distance. We all love you. Be part of the process. Midterm elections this is what it is. Look up your candidates. Follow. August 13th starts the early voting. Make sure your thing and there we go. Flag Day, Haitian. Our Haitian.
Wait.
Oh, Leon Ba, Li Tête en bas.
That's because pay ya tête en bas vrai.
But Haitian flag, nous la pirade. Okay, love y'all. We see y'all soon. And be good to get it, girl.
Yeah.
Yes.